So if you were going to design like the ideal NBA shooting guard, you might come up with Caris LeVert, given that the dude's like 6'7", pretty damn athletic, and he seemed to have a frame that can fill out pretty nicely with some more muscle. And he hasn't been in the NBA too long. He's only just coming into his second year for the Brooklyn Nets. But a lot of people are pretty intrigued with where Caris LeVert can go as an NBA player. They see his shooting ability, where he was a very good three-point shooter in college for, I think, the last 3 seasons. And he's also shown some abilities as a creator, having the ball in his hands. And I think given his size, athleticism, and shooting ability that he showed in college, I think a comparison to him could be like a Bradley Beal sort of a shooting guard. Someone who you're not going to put the ball in his hands all the time, but if the situation arises, he can beat some dudes off the dribble, but he can be really good in transition off the ball and things like that. I think the question I have for Caris, though, is how is he going to acclimate himself with D'Angelo Russell, because I have to assume, between Jeremy Lin, Russell, and him, like, it's going to be a little bit of a logjam. I do think LeVert has some small forward potential, but I would rather him at the 2-guard spot. Hopefully Allen Crabbe doesn't end up playing over him. We'll have to see with that one. Tim Hardaway Jr. on the Knicks. I don't like the contract. I've said this numerous times. I think it's an overpay for a guy you could have gotten for cheaper, especially given the market and all that stuff. But I can't mistake the fact that Tim Hardaway Jr. has some offensive talent. Now, I'm weary because it was pretty much just for 1 season that he was able to do it for the Atlanta Hawks. But even so, I think Hardaway... I made a video just recently about the 2013 Knicks. He kind of reminds me of J.R. Smith when he was putting up the 18 points a game for the Knicks that 1 season coming off the bench. Maybe that's a sort of role that he can really do some stuff with. I do think he'd have to improve as a ball handler a bit more to get there. But his handle isn't terrible, and his overall shooting was good for Atlanta this previous season. So I'm intrigued with Tim Hardaway Jr. Now, I do fear that going from Mike Budenholzer, who was a really good head coach, to Jeff Hornacek could hurt him. I'm not saying Hornacek can't coach, but I would say that Coach Bud is just on a different level from him. And the Hawks also had guys like Paul Millsap, for example, who, I don't know, the creativeness that they had in terms of creating, I think that helped out Hardaway. These Knicks don't really have a creator. They may ask him to dribble the ball more often. I don't know if he can do that. But I think there's a chance he could still be a hell of an offensive option for them. Dion Waiters. Is the NBA not just better if Dion's actually good? We have to all come together and pray to some basketball god to make it to where Dion Waiters is still good, because for one, it would make Miami... Would that not make them the most exciting team in the NBA? Because when they were going on their big winning streak this previous season, they were pretty much must-watch television, and a big reason for it was Dion Waiters. I do have some fears that Miami is not going to be able to take what they did for the second half of last season and put it towards an entire 82-game season, because the top half still counts. I don't think we can just forget about everything that happened in the first, 41 games this previous year. But I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic, and Dion Waiters was creating his own shots. He was getting shots off for other guys. He was taking some three-pointers that typically don't go in for him that started going in. And it was basketball harmony. And suddenly Waiters Island, which I sold my stock on, or however the phrase is, a long time ago, it was starting to get a little bit more populated. So we're going to have to see what happens. He could maintain what he was doing, looking really good last season. He could dip down into the Dion Waiters he's been for most of his NBA career. It's going to be interesting, man, and I think a lot of Miami's season is riding on that shooting guard position. Rodney Hood is going to have to attempt to make up for some of the scoring that Gordon Hayward had for Utah for the past few seasons, because they're going to be looking, man. Hayward was the really good creator for them, scoring over 20 points a game. And when you look at the team they have, I think Hood probably has the most potential of being a scorer. I like Rudy Gobert, but Gobert doesn't have that ability to just create shots for himself like that. Joe Ingles is nice, but he's a role player. I don't think Derek Favors is much more than a 16-point scorer, which is still fine, but it's not what Rodney Hood can be, in my opinion. He's shown an ability to create his own shot. He's been a good three-point shooter. He was not healthy this previous season, and hopefully just being ready to go this year can help him out. I look for him to be in sets where he has the ball in his hand. Hopefully he's attacking the rim a little bit more often. I picture him doing some off-ball stuff. Do I think he can give them what Gordon Hayward did? Not right now, but I have some decent hopes for Rodney Hood going into this season. Now I got to talk about Bogdan Bogdanovic, who was actually in my Sacramento Kings, my GM, back when 2K17 came out. He was pretty good for us then. Is he going to be good for Sacramento IRL? I don't know. Am I ever going to use the phrase IRL in a video again? Well, I just did, so there's two for you. Sacramento actually has a bit of a thing going on with perimeter players now. You're talking about George Hill, Buddy Hield, Bogdanovic now, De'Aaron Fox. It's going to be interesting to see how they acclimate all these guys together because, I mean, I don't know how you do it. I think Bogdanovic, he's been a good three-point shooter overseas. He's 25 years old, I want to say, so he's not a normal NBA rookie in the sense of, I think you can expect him to do actual things in his first season, and if he doesn't, that's going to be a problem because if you're a 26-year-old who isn't complete as a player, then I don't really know what to make of it. So if he's a good, I think we're going to see it right away. And I just want to see how the Kings figure all that out. You know, they got some guys who are going to need the ball in their hand, especially one in De'Aaron Fox. Buddy Hield is more of a natural shooter. I would say Bogdanovic and Hill are somewhere in between that. It'll be interesting, and I do hope he gets an opportunity because just seeing some of the things he's done overseas, he definitely has some talent.